The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They believed fear was the strongest force in the universe, stronger than weapons, stronger than fleets, stronger than hope. Every species they faced learned the same lesson: resist and suffer. Worlds burned, leaders bowed, entire civilizations disappeared. So when the Empire captured 3 human generals, no one expected anything new. The humans were still young in the galaxy. Brave, yes, but inexperienced. Their borders were small. Their fleets were few. The Empire believed humans would break easily. They were wrong. The 3 generals were brought into the Imperial Tribunal Chamber. The room was vast and cold, built from black metal and glowing blue stone. Holographic stars floated in the air, slowly rotating. Chains hung from the ceiling, heavy and cruel. The generals were seated in the center. All 3 were women. Their uniforms were torn. Their faces were bruised. Dried blood marked their skin. Thick metal chains locked their wrists and ankles to the floor. Yet they sat straight. They did not cry. They did not beg. Imperial officials watched from raised platforms. Tall, pale beings with silver eyes and long fingers. They whispered among themselves, confused. This was not how prisoners usually behaved. One of the officials stepped forward. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Human generals," he said, cold and sharp. "Your resistance has failed. Your fleets are surrounded. Your people will suffer unless you cooperate." No response. The general stared ahead, calm and silent. The official's eyes narrowed. He gestured, and the pain began. Energy surged through the chains. The general's bodies tensed. Muscles shook. Teeth clenched. Still no screams. Minutes passed. The Empire increased the power. One general closed her eyes. Another took a slow breath. The third looked directly at the officials and smiled. That smile unsettled them. The torture stopped. The official stepped closer. "You will speak," he said. "Every species speaks eventually." The center general finally raised her head. Her voice was low, steady, and clear. "You should stop," she said. The chamber fell silent. The official laughed. "You are in no position to give warnings human." She met his gaze. "I'm not warning you for us," she said. "I'm warning you for yourselves." The Empire dismissed her words. They had heard many threats before. Empty ones. Broken ones. They resumed the torture. What the Empire did not know was this. The chamber was being watched. Hidden within the Empire's own systems, a human signal quietly recorded everything. Every scream suppressed. Every wound. Every cruel smile from the tribunal. The signal traveled across space, faster than any Empire message, deep inside human-controlled territory. Far from front lines, the signal reached a place no outsider had ever seen. An ancient command vault. Inside the vault, human leaders gathered in silence. Soldiers, scientists, admirals. None spoke as the recording played. The room was dark. The generals on the screen did not beg. One of the human leaders clenched his fists. Another whispered. They touched them. A third turned away, unable to watch more. When the recording ended, the room stayed silent for a long time. Then an old woman spoke. Her hair was white. Her voice was calm. "So," she said, "they chose this." No one asked what she meant. They already knew. A single officer stepped forward and placed a key on the table. It was old, scratched, marked with symbols from Earth's earliest myths. The officer hesitated. "If we do this," he said, "there's no going back." The old woman nodded. "There never is." She looked at the screen one last time, at the 3 generals unbroken. "Send a message," she said. Across the galaxy, a secure human channel activated. A message entered the deepest layers of human command networks. It was short. It had no explanation. Only 4 words. "Release the Baba Yaga." Back in the Imperial Tribunal Chamber, the Empire believed they were still in control. They discussed how long humans could endure. They argued about which general to break first. They did not notice the small changes. A distant outpost stopped responding. A patrol fleet failed to report back. A supply convoy vanished during hyperspace travel. The Empire dismissed these events as coincidence. After all, no one hunted the Empire. No one ever had. The three generals sat in chains, silent. One of them whispered, so softly that only the others heard. "They've started," she said. Another nodded. The third closed her eyes. Somewhere in the dark between stars, something old had awakened. Something built not for conquest, but for revenge. And the Galactic Empire had no idea that torturing three humans was about to become the greatest mistake in its history. The Imperial Tribunal chamber became quieter after the first cycle of torture. Not calm, not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that made even the Empire uncomfortable. The three human generals remained in their chairs, chains tied around their wrists and ankles. Their bodies showed pain, bruises, burns, and dry blood, but their posture did not change. Their heads stayed high. Their eyes stayed clear. The Empire had seen strong prisoners before. Warriors, kings, even prophets. They all screamed in the end. These humans did not. The lead interrogator returned. His robe flowed behind him as he circled the generals slowly, studying them like broken machines that refused to shut down. "Pain teaches truth," he said. "Your species will learn this lesson." No one answered. He stopped behind the general on the left. She was known among humans as a master of fleet movements. Her mind could see battles before they happened. The Empire believed she would break first. They activated a different device. The air grew heavy. The lights dimmed. A low sound filled the chamber, not loud, but deep like pressure inside the skull. It pressed against thoughts, memories, and fear. The general's hands trembled. Her breathing became uneven. The Empire leaned forward, confident. They were not attacking her body. They were attacking her mind. Images flooded her thoughts. Burning human cities, dying soldiers, children crying in the dark. The Empire whispered lies into her thoughts. "You failed them. They died because of you. You are alone." Her lips parted. The Empire waited. Then she spoke. "You're bad at this," she said quietly. The interrogator froze. She lifted her head slowly and looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but sharp. "You show me loss," she continued. "We live with loss. You think it weakens us. It doesn't." She swallowed, steadying her breath. "It teaches us what matters." The device shut down. The Empire was angry now. They moved to the second general, the ground war commander, a woman who had fought on dozens of worlds. She had seen mud, fire, and death up close. They tried humiliation. They projected false images into the chamber. Human troops surrendering, human flags burning, crowds cheering for the Empire. They mocked humanity's short history. "You are nothing," an official said. "Your species will be forgotten." The general laughed. It was soft, dry, real. "You don't understand humans," she said. "We don't fear being forgotten." She raised her chin. "We fear being remembered as weak." Her laughter echoed in the chamber longer than the Empire liked. Finally, they turned to the third general, the intelligence architect. She had said almost nothing since her capture. The Empire believed silence meant cracks were forming. They were wrong. They brought out the final method. They showed her the future, a fake future. Human worlds in chains. Human children trained as servants. Human history erased. The Empire ruling forever. The general watched the images without blinking. When it ended, an official leaned close. "This is what awaits your people," he whispered. "Unless you speak." The general exhaled slowly. "You made a mistake," she said. The official smiled. "You already said that." She shook her head. "No, this one is bigger." She looked around the chamber. "You think humans fight wars like you do," she continued. "We don't." The official frowned. "Explain." She smiled faintly. "We don't fight to win territory," she said. "We fight to make sure no one ever tries again." The Empire dismissed her words. They ended the session and returned the generals to their restraints. But something had changed. Imperial officers argued among themselves. Their confidence was fading. Humans were supposed to fear pain. Instead, they spoke like judges. Elsewhere, the galaxy shifted. Another Imperial fleet vanished. this time without battle. No wreckage, no survivors. An outpost commander sent a distress signal before his station went dark. "There's something out there," he said. "We can't see it." The signal cut off. The Empire began emergency meetings. Analysts searched for patterns. They found none. Back in the chamber, the generals were given water. One of them whispered, "They're getting nervous." "They should be," another replied. The third said nothing. She was listening. Far beyond the Empire's borders, deep in forgotten space, ancient machines woke from sleep. They did not announce themselves. They did not transmit warnings. They moved quietly, purposefully. On a distant Imperial world, a civilian broadcast interrupted all channels. For 3 seconds, a single symbol appeared on every screen. An old Earth marking. A story humans told their children. The Baba Yaga had left its first sign. In the tribunal chamber, alarms began to sound. The lead interrogator turned pale. "What is happening?" someone demanded. No one had an answer. The generals closed their eyes. Humanity had not sent an army. It had sent a lesson. And the Empire was about to learn why humans were left alone in the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had faced many enemies. Some fought with numbers, some with technology, some with rage. What they faced now was none of those. Across Imperial space, strange reports flooded command channels. Ships vanished without battle. Sensors failed without warning. Crews reported hearing nothing. No alarms, no weapons fire, just silence before everything went dark. Imperial scientists argued. "This is sabotage." "No, it's a new weapon. It could be a virus." They were all wrong. The Baba Yaga was not a single thing. It was a system. Long ago, when humanity first touched the stars, they learned a harsh truth. The galaxy was old. Powerful empires ruled it. Mercy was rare. Humans survived by watching. They noticed something important. The strongest empires fell not from invasion, but from fear. So humans planned differently. They did not build the Baba Yaga to win wars. They built it so wars would never reach them again. The Baba Yaga was a doctrine, passed only to a few. Even most human soldiers never heard its name. It existed for one reason only. If humanity was tortured, if its leaders were broken, if mercy was denied, then the Baba Yaga would answer. Deep in empty space, machines older than the Empire activated. They had no flags, no signatures, no central command. Each one carried a simple rule. Punish, isolate, erase, asterisk, asterisk. They did not attack capitals. They attacked trust. An Imperial relay station failed. Messages stopped flowing. Fleets could not coordinate. Then a shipyard exploded, not from weapons, but from systems turning against themselves. An admiral watched his fleet fall apart without seeing an enemy. "This is impossible," he whispered. Then his ship lost power. On another world, the Empire discovered something worse. A human prisoner camp had been abandoned. Guards were alive, supplies untouched. But every screen showed the same message, burned into metal and stone. You were warned. Fear spread. The Empire began hunting for a human superweapon. They found nothing, because the Baba Yaga did not fight like the Empire. It did not seek victory. It sought memory. Back in the tribunal chamber, the 3 generals felt the change. The air was different. The guards moved faster. Their voices shook. The intelligence general listened to distant alarms. "It's moving faster than expected," she said quietly. The fleet commander frowned. They escalated. The ground commander smiled weakly. "Good." The interrogator returned, no longer confident. "Call it off," he demanded. "Whatever this is." The generals looked at him. "We can't," the intelligence general said. "Why not?" he snapped. "Because it doesn't answer to us anymore." That frightened him more than any threat. Across the Empire, panic grew. Trade routes collapsed. Allies stopped responding. Old rival species began withdrawing their support. The Empire was becoming alone. On the central Imperial world, the High Council demanded answers. A scientist spoke with shaking hands. "This system does not target population centers, he said. It targets command, logistics, and morale. A counselor whispered, "It's hunting us." "Yes," the scientist replied. "Like prey." The Empire tried diplomacy. They broadcast surrender offers. No response. They tried threats. Nothing. They tried silence. That made it worse. The Baba Yaga thrived in the gaps. An ancient alien historian, captured long ago, was dragged before the council. He studied the reports and grew pale. "I know this pattern," he said. The council leaned forward. "This is not conquest," the historian continued. "This is a warning species." He swallowed. Long ago, a race did something similar. They were hunted into extinction. The council demanded the name of that race. The historian shook his head. "No one remembers," he said. "That is the point." Back in the chamber, the Empire returned the generals, not to torture them, to ask, "What do you want?" the interrogator said. The fleet general answered calmly, "You should have asked that first." She leaned forward as far as the chains allowed. "You want to know why humans don't rule the galaxy?" she asked. The interrogator nodded. "Because we don't need to," she said. "We only need to make sure no one ever forgets what happens when you cross us." Outside the chamber, a star went dark, not exploded. Gone. The Empire stared into the void, and for the first time in its long history, it understood the truth. Humanity had not unleashed a monster. Humanity had unleashed a rule, and the Baba Yaga was enforcing it. The Galactic Empire had always believed itself untouchable. Its borders stretched across thousands of systems. Its fleets darkened the stars. Its enemies fell long before they reached imperial space. But now, something was wrong. For the first time in its long history, the Empire was not losing battles. It was losing control. Imperial command centers overflowed with reports, not of attacks, but of absence. Ships vanished mid-jump. Command stations went silent. Entire sectors stopped responding. There were no distress calls, no battle footage, no signs of enemy fleets, only empty space. An Imperial fleet commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at a tactical map filled with dead signals. "Find them," he ordered. "Scan everything." The sensors returned nothing. No heat, no movement, no wreckage. An officer said, her voice shaking. The commander whispered, "Then where did they go?" No one answered. Elsewhere, on an Imperial fortress world, alarms screamed through the night. Power grids shut down one by one. Defensive cannons turned inward and fired on their own shield generators. Engineers tried to shut the systems down. The systems ignored them. A single message appeared on every internal screen. "Fear teaches memory." The Empire began to panic. This was not a war they understood. Their enemies did not advance. They did not demand surrender. They did not claim territory. They erased confidence. On the High Council world, emergency lights bathed the chamber in red. Council members shouted over one another, "This must stop. We must retaliate." Against what? Silence followed that question. A senior admiral stepped forward. His voice was low. "This enemy knows our systems better than we do," he said. "They move through our blind spots." A counselor hissed, "Impossible." The admiral met his gaze. "Humans have been studying us for decades." That truth struck hard. Back in the tribunal chamber, the three human generals felt the shift clearly now. Guards no longer made eye contact. Officials avoided their gaze. The chain still held them, but the power behind them was fading. The interrogator returned, his voice no longer sharp. "Your response," he said carefully, "is excessive." The ground commander smiled. "No," she said, "this is restraint." The interrogator's eyes widened. "Restraint?" "Yes," she replied. "If this were revenge, you would already be gone." That frightened him more than any scream. Across the Empire, allied species began to withdraw. Trade agreements were canceled. Military support vanished. No one wanted to be close when the Baba Yaga passed through. An imperial governor begged for help. None came. A scientist on a research station finally pieced something together. This system doesn't destroy planets, she said during a frantic briefing. It isolates them. How? A general demanded. It removes command, communication, and trust, she answered. It makes worlds useless to the Empire. The general whispered. It's cutting us apart. Yes, she replied. Slowly, the Empire made a decision. They would return the generals. Publicly, they believed this would end it. In the tribunal chamber, the interrogator approached the generals with forced calm. You will be released, he said. Your treatment was a misunderstanding. The intelligence general laughed softly. No, she said. It was a message. The interrogator clenched his jaw. Then send your people a message back. Call it off. She shook her head. You still don't understand, she said. This was never about us. She leaned forward. This is about everyone watching. Outside the chamber, a nearby Imperial fleet received new orders. They were to demonstrate power. Moments later, every ship in the fleet shut down at once. Drifting. Silent. The message was clear. The Empire could not protect itself. News spread fast. Whispers moved through the galaxy. Did you hear what happened to the Empire? They torture humans. They awaken something. The name began to circulate. The Baba Yaga, an old alien priest on a distant world, spoke to his people. Stay away from humans, he warned. They do not fight like we do. Back on the High Council world, a counselor finally asked a question no one wanted to voice. What if we lose? The room went still. Another counselor answered. We already are. The Empire had spent centuries ruling through fear. Now fear ruled them. In the tribunal chamber, the generals were unchained, not freed, just unchained. As guards escorted them away, the fleet commander looked back once. You had a choice, she said calmly. You chose pain. The interrogator said nothing. As the chamber doors closed, a final alert echoed through Imperial space. A core world had fallen. Not burned, not invaded, abandoned. The Empire bled, not from wounds, but from terror. And the galaxy was watching. The Galactic Empire no longer spoke with one voice. Its command channels were filled with arguments, fear, and denial. Admirals blamed scientists. Scientists blamed old systems. Governors blamed the High Council. No one blamed the humans out loud. But everyone was thinking it. Imperial space was still intact on maps, but in reality, it was hollow. Fleets could not coordinate. Trade had stopped. Loyal worlds were silent, not destroyed, just gone, disconnected. The Empire had ruled through fear, but now fear ruled back. On the High Council world, the final emergency session began. The chamber was full, yet quiet. Even the most powerful leaders looked small beneath the massive ceiling. A single question hovered in the air. Why? Why had humans responded this way? Why not negotiate? Why not invade? An old alien advisor stepped forward. He had served the Empire for centuries. His body was weak, but his voice was clear. You never asked who humans are, he said. A counselor snapped. We know enough. The advisor shook his head. No, you know what they show. He activated projection. It showed early human history, wars, disasters, near extinction. Humans grew up fighting themselves, he said. They learned limits the hard way. The Council watched as images changed. Cities rebuilt, alliances formed, wars ended. They learned that victory without restraint destroys everything. The advisor continued. So when they reached the stars, they made a promise. The projection shifted to deep space. They would never become conquerors. A counselor laughed bitterly. Then what is this? The advisor looked at him. This, he said, is enforcement. The Empire had mistaken human kindness for weakness. Humans traded. Humans negotiated. Humans withdrew when threatened. But there was one line. Never torture. Never enslave. Never break leaders to control a people. That was a line the Empire crossed. Back on the transport ship, carrying the three generals, silence filled the cabin. Medical drones worked carefully, repairing wounds, easing pain. The fleet commander finally spoke. They still don't understand, she said. The intelligence general nodded. They never wanted to. The ground commander looked out the viewport at the stars. Good, she said. Then the lesson will stick. Elsewhere, the Baba Yaga continued its work. It did not destroy worlds. It isolated them. Imperial systems found themselves locked out of their own defenses. AI cores shut down. Navigation charts erased themselves. The Empire tried to rebuild connections. Each attempt failed. The Baba Yaga was not attacking from outside. It was already inside. On a distant Imperial core world, a governor made a desperate decision. He ordered his people to remove all Imperial symbols and declared neutrality. Within hours, the Baba Yaga passed them by. The message was clear. Those who let go survived. Those who held on vanished. The High Council finally sent a message to human space. Not a threat, a plea. We surrender, it said. End this. The response came quickly, not from a general, not from a fleet, from a civilian voice. Humanity accepts surrender, the message said, but surrender does not mean forgiveness. The Council demanded conditions. The response listed them. End all torture across Imperial space. Dismantle forced labor systems. Release all political prisoners. Disband the High Council. The Council stared in disbelief. This would end the Empire, one whispered. Yes, the response replied. That is the point. The Empire faced a truth it could no longer escape. It was never being punished for losing a war. It was being punished for who it chose to be. The old advisor spoke one final time. You wanted to rule forever, he said softly. Humans wanted to sleep peacefully. The three generals returned to human space days later. They were greeted not with cheers, but silence. Respectful. Heavy. Human leaders stood as they entered the chamber. The old woman from a vault stepped forward. It's done, she said. The intelligence general shook her head. No, it's finishing. The woman nodded. Then humanity will wait. Because humans always waited. That was their greatest strength. Across the galaxy, the Empire collapsed without a final battle. World declared independence. Fleets stood down. History began to erase the Empire's name. And in countless systems, a warning spread in quiet voices. Do not harm humans. Do not test their patience. Do not wake the Baba Yaga. The Empire had learned too late. Humanity did not rule the galaxy. It guarded it. And those who forgot, that truth never lasted long. The Galactic Empire did not fall in fire. There was no final battle. No heroic last stand. No grand explosion to mark its end. It fell quietly. World by world, system by system, the Empire stopped existing. Imperial flags were taken down. Council seals were removed from doors. Soldiers laid down their weapons, not because they were defeated, but because they no longer believed. The Baba Yaga did not chase those who walked away. It only followed those who refused to change. The High Council met one last time. The chamber was almost empty. Many seats were abandoned. Some counselors had fled. Others had vanished. Only a few remained, staring at a galaxy that no longer listened to them. An emergency report played in the center of the room. Another core system had gone dark, not destroyed, disconnected. A counselor whispered, "Is there any way to stop it?" The old alien advisor, still standing, answered softly. "No," he said, "there never was." One counselor slammed his hand on the table. "Then what do humans want?" The advisor looked at him. "They want what you never understood," he said, "to be left alone." Across the stars, the Baba Yaga began to slow. Its task was almost complete. Imperial command networks collapsed. Databases erased themselves. Fleet AIs locked their own weapons and powered down forever. The Empire's strength and control had become its weakness. Without it, there was nothing left. On Earth, the three human generals stood together on a quiet platform overlooking the planet. Medical treatment had healed their bodies, but the memory of change still lingered. The fleet commander broke the silence. "It's over," she said. The ground commander shook her head. "No, It's remembered. The intelligence general looked at the stars. That's enough, she said. Human leaders joined them. The old woman from the vault stepped forward once more. The Baba Yaga has completed its mission, she said. She paused. Do we shut it down? The generals exchanged glances. The intelligence general answered carefully. No, she said. We put it back to sleep. The woman nodded, because the Baba Yaga was never meant to rule, only to wake when needed. Across the galaxy, surviving species watched closely. They had seen what happened to the Empire. They had learned the lesson without feeling the pain. Human ambassadors visited worlds once controlled by the Empire. They did not demand loyalty. They did not claim territory. They offered one sentence. Do not become what the Empire was. Most listened. Some did not. Those who did not disappeared from history. Years later, children across the galaxy learned new stories. Not about the Empire. About humans. They learned that humans could be kind. They learned that humans could forgive. But they also learned that humans never forgot cruelty. On a distant world, an alien child asked the teacher, "Why is there so much empty space where the Empire used to be?" The teacher answered carefully. Because some empires believe fear makes them strong, he said. Humans believe memory does. The child asked, "What is the Baba Yaga?" The teacher hesitated. "It is a story humans tell," he said, "about what happens when patience ends." Back on Earth, the three generals visited a quiet memorial. No names were carved there, only words. Never again. The fleet commander placed her hand on the stone. "They wanted us to break," she said. The ground commander replied, "They taught us why we don't." The intelligence general looked up at the sky one last time. "Let the galaxy remember," she said. Far beyond human space, deep in forgotten darkness, ancient machines powered down. Systems locked themselves away. Silent watchers returned to sleep. The Baba Yaga rested, waiting. The galaxy moved on. New alliances formed. Old fears faded. But one truth remained, passed quietly from world to world. Humanity does not seek domination. Humanity does not crave fear. But if you torture their leaders, if you break their people, if you cross the line, they never forget, then humanity will not send an army. It will send a nightmare. And no empire ever survives that twice.